Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I am your host, Andy, like I forgot who I was for a half second, and joined as always by co-host Hanna.
Hello.
And our 55 and up producer, Fish. That's not true. He's almost there. You're getting there.
I know.
I'm going to get there first.
You're going to get there so much sooner than I am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just waiting for you to retire, move to one of those places so I can be your roommate.
When's your birthday again?
July?
I knew it was summer. So this is like the next one's a biggie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
July
Cool.
1.
Yeah.
There you
The
go.
big 4-0.
Yeah.
Ball, ball, ball.
God, I need a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
I need a sports car and
We'll just make it like kind of like a Walt Disney thing.
Install a heat lamp
Like
in
you'll
your bathroom.
turn 40, then the next year I'll turn 50, and then the year after that we'll make up some like Inebri-art holiday, like Inebri-art's 27th, whatever,
Jubilee.
Yeah. That's what Disney does every year. It's somebody's 50th.
Great. Does this mean we have to put our podcast into the Inebri-art vault so no one can hear them for a couple of years?
And then roll them back out again.
Yes.
Yeah. So you better download this quick.
Tell your friends. Oh, yeah.
And then we're going to put out like the limited edition where Greedo shoots first.
Where what?
Greedo. It's a Star Wars thing.
Oh, I was like, who is that? Someone else on the podcast?
Yeah, he's going to be cast next week. So we're not talking about Disney.
No.
That makes no sense.
Oh,
Wait. Are we talking about Disney?
Are we? What are we talking about? Hannah, what are we talking about?
We're kind of talking
Did we just
about
do another
Disney.
accidental segue?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're awesome.
God,
We're so
You're
awesome
so
at this.
good at this. I've never been prouder of both of us, Andy.
Good job.
You're welcome.
We are going to be talking about one of my favorite movies, Johnny Tremain.
Which is a Disney movie.
Yes.
I've read
We're
it. I've never.
super great at this.
We're amazing.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm in. I'm so impressed with myself.
I'm so glad you've read it.
I've read the book. I didn't.
I saw the movie.
This feels very 1960s.
It was
Before
probably
then,
yes,
a little bit.
the Disney
Yeah,
movie
in the
was
50s.
probably
Like, it feels very like we're doing live action Disney period.
almost,
so 50s, 60s.
almost 60s.
when I was a kid and we had our very first VCR, which had dials on it.
Cool.
There was a video rental store at the end of the street, and pretty much their whole children's selection was Disney movies.
Yeah.
So I used to always rent Tron and Condor Man, which you haven't seen Condor Man, go watch Condor Man. I have no idea if it holds up, but I watched it a lot when I was a kid. But then there was a whole series of like Johnny Tremain,
Yeah.
Davy Crockett.
Yeah.
And I used to watch all of those.
Jebediah Johnson.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, it's so good. It's
I
kind
was
of
like a big Davy Crockett fan.
It is David Crockett.
David Crockett.
Davy Crockett. I can't say it, but it's like that. But
Apple
it's cool.
Dumpling Gang.
Okay.
Escape to Witch Mountain.
Oh, I love Escape to Witch Mountain,
Yeah.
except the '90s one.
I never saw the 90s one.
It's,
But like all that stuff.
Yeah.
I used to watch it a lot.
Shockingly, a movie that they've remade more than I thought they ever would. Like The Rock was in one recently in the
Yeah,
last
I
10
knew
years.
that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, Johnny
Yeah.
Tremain.
Johnny Tremain.
I remember nothing about him, so this will be interesting.
Cool. And I'm so happy that you have the knowledge of the
I've
book.
read the book.
Oh,
yeah.
wait, maybe.
I
Did he
remember
work
his.
in pewter?
I remember
Yeah,
his
he was
hands
a
getting
smith.
messed up.
Okay, I do remember
Yeah.
one spot.
Or an apprentice for one. So it's a Walt Disney production, as we have announced.
As
All right, I think I'm over the
As was
intro.
for-
Okay.
Nope,
I was on a
as was
bit of a
foretold,
high.
Andy.
Yeah.
We knew this coming in.
It was released June 19th, 1957. It's based on the 1944 novel of the same name by Esther Forbes, and originally made for TV, but it was actually first put into theaters. And it didn't air on TV until November 21st and 28th. They did a 2-part release, like a week apart. I'm like, oh, that's a big deal. If I was left with that,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even.
Was that like the Wonderful World?
World of
Well,
Disney?
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
it was on the Wonderful World of Disney.
I remember that.
Yep. And it starred Hal Stellmaster and he played Johnny.
Hal Stairmaster.
Stylemaster. And the
And
music,
his brother Jim Elliptical.
the music was by George Bruns and Tom Blackburn. And they did the music for the Liberty Tree, which is like the music for the whole movie. It's like the same song and tune through the whole thing, but played different instruments and keys and whatever.
Yeah.
But also there's a song.
With words?
Yeah.
And Hannah's going to sing it for us now.
And the budget was $70,000.
Wow.
Sorry, $700,000.
Oh, okay.
Closer to
Okay.
a
I'm like,
million.
$70,000 back then doesn't sound like a lot
Like
of money.
$70,000, even in the 50s, does not sound like make a movie money. Or if it does, it sounds like me and my friends made a movie.
Yeah.
It's Sharknado money.
I think you can tell with the cuts in it that it was like a made-for-TV movie.
Like, one of those, like, oh, that's where the commercial goes? Yeah.
But also, I can tell, I believe, when like the first episode was the first episode because
It's halfway?
it's halfway. But no, I feel like I'm like the beginning of it is everything to me, and then I realized watching it the other day that I teeter way off on the second half. And, like, I only care about the first half of the movie.
Oh, so is this like when Goose dies in Top Gun? I've never watched the end of it.
Pretty much.
Just because I'm like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
The cool character's dead. Why am I even watching this?
Yeah. So it starts us off. It opens up Boston, July 1774.
2 years before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but around the start of all the things that accumulate to become the American Revolution, right? And it starts with Johnny, and he is an apprentice at a blacksmith or a pewtersmith.
Yeah.
And their competition is Paul Revere.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. And Johnny is he's like a go-getter. He wants to do really well with this craft. His master is a old school guy, been doing it for a while. And like,
It's like, Johnny, stop taking Instagram photos of yourself.
no, Johnny's like a hard worker. He really wants to show that he can do it and like strive to do better and more. And so it's his master, the master's daughter, and then her daughter that like own and live there and run it. And then Johnny, like old school, lives there with them and like eats off their dime and stuff like that because he's gonna learn to take over the business.
Yeah.
And
He learns his trade and kind of gets room and board.
yes, exactly. So he, like I said, is very like looking to go get it and do the best he can. And this guy comes in and he is like a very well-to-do, I don't know, like aristocrat, not an aristocat. But like he's very wealthy.
Another Disney movie.
Yes, yeah. And he his last name is Light, which is very important to the
Plot?
yes.
Okay.
And he comes in looking to have one of his silver pieces fixed. And Johnny's master was like, this is too complicated for me. You're going to have to go somewhere else. It's also their landlord
Okay.
that's like coming in. And he's like, why wouldn't you go to Paul Revere for this? And he's like, I don't know. He's a buccaneer. I wanted to come to you. Like he says something weird like that.
Yeah, kids.
Yeah.
See?
He doesn't
That's how
talk
he
like
should
that.
talk.
He talks like an English dignitary. He's like, "Mwah," like that.
Oh.
Yeah. That kind of thing. So he comes in and
Oh, I wouldn't go see Paul Revere. That kind of.
yeah, and he asks them to do that. The master denies it, but Johnny steps up and is like, "No, we can. I think we could do this. We should take it." And he's like, "Oh, we'll get it done for you." And the master's like, "You're a fool, Johnny. You're dumb. Get out of
Do you
here."
have a script with you?
Yeah. No, but he said this is, we can't do this. But Johnny agrees to do it, and the daughter, the granddaughter and the daughter are both like, yeah, we actually need the money, and it would be sweet to get the money from this guy because we might be able to like sweeten up the deal and work something out because we're behind on rent a little bit. Like, do something
Yeah.
that would benefit us a lot. So they're in. They're ready to do it too. So when talking about this piece, Johnny reveals to the granddaughter that he's like, actually, my name is Jonathan Light Tremain, and that guy is a relative of my mom's. And he shows her a piece very similar, and he said, it's my mom's baptism cup. She told me if I ever get into trouble to go see him, and he would be able to help me out because we're family. So she's like, oh, wow.
That's like an M. Night Shyamalan twist.
That's crazy, Johnny. Yeah. Right at the beginning of the movie, too. So what's left to really happen?
Now I get why you don't watch the second half.
It's like the first 5 minutes I shut it off. I'm like, don't need to see anything else. So he actually goes to take it to Paul Revere after setting a few prints and like molds and seeing if it would work, and they're just not coming out right. So he goes to take it to Paul, and when he goes to see Paul at his shop, he's not there, and I guess he heard through the grapevine that he's at a printing press shop, like a newspaper place. And he goes in, and there's another kid there about his age. She's printing some stuff, and he's like, "Is Paul here?" And he's like, "No, he's not a printing press guy, so
Why would he be here?
why would he be here?" And he's like, "'Cause someone told me he was." And he's like, "Oh yeah, he's upstairs in a meeting," like, and gave it away.
We're keeping a secret real good.
Yeah, yeah. And then he talks a little bit about what's in the newspaper, and the big hype in the newspaper, I believe, is taxation without representation, and something about tea is
all
stirring the pot.
classics.
Yeah. And Johnny's like, "Hey man, I want nothing to do with that mumbo jumbo. I don't keep my nose in politics. I just try to be good at what I'm doing and listen to my master, and I don't worry about any of that stuff." And he's like, "Well, maybe someday you will, because you realize you're affected by it." And,
And John's like, "Go watch Fox News, though."
yeah, no. Just some foreshadowing, So Paul comes down with some other people that are recognizable in the community as, like,
Joe Tyler from Steve Tyler from Aerosmith.
Steve. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Boston regulars.
Yeah, and they're leaving, and they were just in a meeting, and Paul sits right down and is like totally cool dude with them, and is like, "This is what you're gonna want to do," and he helps him draw out his thing, and he's like, "Try this and you'll get it right." So the thing with that is, the next day that they can try to work on the piece is the Sabbath.
You're not supposed to do stuff on the Sabbath.
Correct.
I remember this part.
Yes. So the master goes to church, and the master's daughter and granddaughter get to work starting everything up. And they go, get the kiln going. It's not a kiln. Getting the furnace going, and really rushing Johnny along because they don't want to get caught.
Yeah.
And so he's moving, and then they hear someone coming, and they have to run, put out the fire. Johnny tries to take the cast and burns his hand somehow.
Doesn't he spill some of the stuff
Silver.
on it and fuse his fingers together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
So that's what happens pretty much. And yeah, there's silver on the ground,
And that's when his superpowers developed.
Yeah.
And he became Pewter Man.
Yeah, and he is obviously very hurt, but he keeps his hand wrapped up for a while, and he's really bummed out about it. So in the meantime, I think he does some stuff that work he can do for his master, like errands and things like that. But they're like, "When are you gonna? You've been moping around here for a while." That's what the master's daughter is like. What's your deal? Let me see your hand. This is a few weeks after it happened.
Yeah.
And also within this time, he's kind of talked to that printer press kid that he was, hearing about politics from.
Yeah.
And they talk, he did get an ear about some tea that had been delivered in the harbor that had been sitting there for more than 20 days. So there was a big hubbub about what they were going to do with that, because it should be distributed for auction, but they weren't sure what the governor was going to do. Anyway, and he was like on the dock, the printer press kid was on the dock with a gun. And then the British, like, captain who was walking by, who was like a cool guy.
I thought you said capped him.
No.
They're holding their muskets sideways, like, blam.
No, he was like a cool guy and like didn't care. It was just one of those like, whatever, like, he's like, I don't know, whatever. He was like, if you're going to hold that thing, hold it right, and taught him how to like hold the musket the right way or whatever. It was cute. Yeah, that guy was funny. He was like a comic relief.
Oh, okay.
Trying to, giving the British a better look, I guess. I don't know. So he, they finally confront him about his hand, and that's when like the unwrapping happens, and they see that it's fused together in the way that the actor, because they don't like add makeup to it.
Yeah.
He just does.
They're just like, just done with your hand.
He does this, and now we have to describe what I'm doing with my hand.
You're holding it. I don't know, Fish. How would you describe that?
Fingers tight together.
Like almost you're doing.
She's got her fingers bent over, but not like curled up, and the fingers are all being like held together.
It's almost like if you're saying I had it up to here.
Yeah. And so every scene you see him in, since he unbandages it, you see him with his hand like that.
Yeah.
But also they don't have it glued together or anything. So like you see his fingers move a little bit.
Yeah.
But I love that. So like when that happened and we got to see it, I was like sitting with Donnie on the couch and I was just like, like showing him my hand.
I'm sorry, that would have cost $701,000 to glue his fingers together for a take.
And they're like,
know.
have you seen that brown horse? He's like, yeah, it's over there. And he just points like,
So that's the deal with his hand. He gets confronted. The daughter wants to kick him out. And the master's like, no, you're a good kid. I like having you around. Like, we can make it work. I'd never throw you out on the streets. And he says, forget it. And he leaves anyway.
okay.
I think just because
He's a little emo.
He's a little, yeah. He's a proud kid. So he said, he's like, if I can't do the work that I'm like supposed to be here to do, then
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to. Yeah. So he's kind of out on the streets, but he ends up running into the light guy.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, I need to tell you something. We're related. And here's a cup that my mom has. And he's like, interesting. Why don't you come back to my place later and we can talk more about it? And he's like, yes, that sounds great. And he meets him at his house with the police constable who's there to arrest him because he's like, as you can see, I have 4 of these cups.
And one's missing.
And I got broken into whatever on this date. And that's the missing cup. So Johnny must be the one. So he gets arrested. But the Sons of Liberty, which is the secret meeting group that Paul Revere was at, already have his back. They've been indoctrinating him every chance they get.
Yeah.
They've been feeding him all the things they want him to know. And this is like the last step of good faith for him to like switch fully into being part of that crew. And it really is, how do I put it? Not gang-like, but they're like, you're with us. And when you're with us, we take care of you. Like they say stuff like that.
Like mobsters.
Yeah. And then he's like, we got you a lawyer. And he's like the best lawyer in town.
This is some nice tea. Be shame if something happened to it.
Yeah. And they get him the best lawyer in town. And he is also part of the Sons of Liberty. And he helps him get him off the hook by having the master's granddaughter. She's the same age. I should know her name. I think it's Cecilia. Yeah, it's Cecilia.
Okay.
And she is put on the stand as a witness, not to corroborate where Johnny was the day that this guy claimed that he's stolen from or broken into, but she admits that they were working on the Sabbath to like get this thing done and this, that, and the other, and that they were trying to get it done, and just as a character witness mostly for Johnny. And it ends up working out because she's so honest about him and, you know, doesn't pull any punches. The judge finds it incredibly admirable or like courageous of her to go on the stand against her own landlord. And she's like, no one would do that.
Yeah.
To like,
because you get thrown out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one would do that if they didn't mean what they were saying. So
Yeah.
I believe her and believe that he didn't steal this. So that's what gets Johnny off the hook. And then we roll in like right into the British Tea Party. So
The Boston Tea Party?
yeah, the Boston
British Tea Party is just a tea party. Hannah. They had lots of them.
They had a
They have
couple of
them
them.
to this very day.
And then they had the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah.
Sorry, Boston Tea Party. That's pretty much where we're picking up now in the American Revolution.
That was just the second part of the...
No.
Where you lose interest?
Nope,
No? Okay.
not at all. This is maybe
Hannah's
the most exciting
Hannah's
part.
still here for this
I was just
part.
wondering when the notes trail off and she's like, and then stuff happens.
You will
and-
notice. I'm not joking. So they go to do the Boston Tea Party, and so Johnny's whole role in this, because he's not a real guy, he never existed. Sorry to break it to you folks. The character you know and love was not a real person, but his whole role is to teach you the events of the American Revolution, right?
Yeah.
In like a fun way.
It's historical fiction.
Yeah. So governor lays out his decision about the tea in the harbor. Obviously, the American colonists or the patriots aren't happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when they decide to do the tea party. Johnny's like, this is crazy. How will we get caught? And they're like, well, no one will recognize us. And then they dress up as Native Americans.
I'm sure that didn't hold up awesome.
No. And so they also, like, I'm sure any of them would have been recognized, but it was just like the mockery of it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That was like, how do you know it was us? We painted our faces. Like, I don't know. Either way.
I mean, no, we didn't paint our faces, officer.
Oh, yeah. True.
How did you know it was us? We painted our faces. Oh dear.
Yeah. So they do the Boston Tea Party, which by the time this episode comes out will be the anniversary of it pretty soon. It's like December 16th.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Happened in December.
Didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. And then
So they made iced tea.
they did. Heyo. And they had to, just run away. And they really weren't being stopped at that point either, because that comical relief of like the person in charge of
Oh, the docs there?
was like, what am I supposed to do? I don't even know who these people are. He didn't talk like that, but that's pretty much the light guy was
Yeah.
like, aren't you going to do something? He's like, that's thousands of dollars worth of tea, which he was right, it was. But
That's almost like enough dollars worth of tea to make a 1957's movie.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That would be funny if it was the exact amount. So once the Boston Tea Party happens and they're running back from the ship, oh my gosh. Sorry.
Oh wow.
Okay.
So I looked it up.
Yeah.
The value of the tea tossed into Boston Harbor was roughly $2 million.
In today's money?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Holy cow.
No, the light guy did the math and
Yeah.
he was like, what is your problem? This is so much money.
That's a lot of tea.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was
342 chests of tea.
Wow.
They got their work done.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep. So, this is the best part. Afterwards, they're walking down the streets. Everyone's celebrating. Everyone's so happy. This is when they sing the Sons of Liberty song.
Go ahead, Hannah. hit it.
Okay, but I can only do it for so long.
Oh, you're going to play it. I thought you
Yeah.
were going to sing it.
No. No way.
Yeah, what is fair use? Like 13 seconds or something?
I think it's,
We'll find out if we get copyright.
right? If it will.
Disney's cool. They don't sue a lot of
Disney is
people.
famously non-litigious.
Yes.
As I've said on many podcasts.
I don't want images. I want videos. It's one of my favorite songs. And
I wonder if
It's on her Spotify playlist.
it's so good.
It's her workout jam.
I won't play it for that long.
I was going to say it's going to go right to a commercial.
Okay.
Old tree and the strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Save it from the storm, boys, water down its roots with tea, and the sun will always...
So just to give you an idea, song rocks.
Okay.
First off.
That's a banger.
Couldn't tell, but Andy was bopping his head along to the song.
I think Kanye covered it.
Yeah, it's a great song. And there, there's a nice build up to it, and then more people get into singing it as they're walking down the street, and they go to the Liberty Tree and they hang up the lanterns, and that's when part 1 ends.
Yep.
And I don't have any notes on part 2. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, and then a bunch of stuff happens, and happily
And
ever.
then along with that, Hannah's interest in the movie.
It's the best part though. So, oh my gosh. I did write down a lot of notes that I literally didn't even have to look at because I just love the first half of that movie so much. So after the Liberty Tree thing happens, also, I should add, not a huge set for this area,
Yeah.
but it reminded me so much of like, if you've been to MGM Studios in Disney.
No.
Couple of times.
There's like old sets, but then most of it is backed by huge screens, like paintings.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's like what this is like mostly. So it's tiny streets, definitely fake buildings, probably just a
And then huge matte paintings.
Yes,
Yeah.
very small block. And I think they do a pretty good job with it. Does what it needs to do.
Yeah.
So then we go into spring 70-75. Johnny ends up making his way without his wealthy relative. He actually helps out the Sons of Liberty because he's randomly really good at breaking in horses.
Okay, sure.
Yep. So there's one horse that he works on to knock.
Because his hand's in that, like, oh, good horse kind of shape.
For a second, I admittedly haven't read the book in years, so when you were talking, it's like, he's really good at breaking in. It's like, crime?
Oh, no.
That's where I thought she was going. I'm like, I don't remember.
So he's good at breaking in horses. He's got this one that he works on where they're trying to, he rides them and then make sure he doesn't get bucked off if the horse gets startled. So they're trying to like train them to,
Yeah. Deal with gunfire. And
all that stuff. And be able to.
they're going to say and bees. With gunfire and bees.
Yeah. No, and just be okay with deliveries. So that's his whole thing is delivering messages.
Okay.
And that's his job. And his code for meetings was you owe the oh my gosh, what was it? It was the name of the paper that they printed. Of course, I don't remember because it's literally like the easiest name. It's like the Boston Common. I don't know what it was, but it was something like that.
Boston Times.
Yeah. You owe them 6 shillings. And when he said that, it meant that there was a meeting at 6 o'clock. Yeah. And he'd go around and tell everyone. And he
Super
goes,
clever code.
he goes to do it to Paul Revere, and he's like, I know, 6 shillings. So-and-so already told me. And he's like, idiot, get out of here. That's what it sounded like.
Get out of here, kid, you bothering.
Yeah, but he was happy to do it. So that's what he did as work. And he was able to live, and his hand was still like this. But while he was at the Boston Tea Party, a doctor was there, and he's like, Johnny, let me take a look at that. You come into my office, I'll get that squared away from you. Just a couple moments of pain.
If your career is a
lifetime of freedom
as a giraffe shadow puppeteer doesn't work out.
But I think he does end up getting his hand fixed at one point.
Yeah.
So, and he can move it around again, and he just goes in and gets it cut. That's in part 2. They don't really show it, but they kind of show it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's tough to show it when they don't actually do anything to his hand.
Yeah, but you can.
So it's like,
you
we're going
just
to cut
know.
your fingers. It's like, but I can just do, like...
You just see him go, like he's breathing, you know? So, breathing through the pain. At this point, though, in the spring, he does overhear some talk about redcoats and what they're up to. He also knows that the city is mad because the people have decided not to let, like, the dignitaries pay off the fines from the tea, which would have squashed the whole thing.
Okay.
And they were like, no. That's, like, the whole point is not to do that.
Right.
So...
We don't answer them.
Yeah, and Light is like talking to Johnny. He's like, I know you're friends with those guys. Tell them to like smarten up. And he's like, okay.
I love Hannah's accents. They're
Yeah.
they're worse than mine. I don't know. There's a lot of them in there.
See, I give you a lot of trouble for your one accent. No, Andy, not Hannah.
Yeah.
Hannah's accents are lovely and very 1930s gangster.
Yeah.
They're all
Andy's
over the place.
are the French guys from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Nice.
I just don't do accents. You know why? Because I know they'd be terrible.
Yeah, but that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
No, you've seen me try to do accents, Andy.
That's why I don't get cast in our $700,000 Disney movie. Sorry. Sorry, buddy.
So the intel he gets from the Redcoats, gosh, it's something about them going up to like landing up north in New Hampshire somewhere. So he tells someone and they're like, that's weird. Why are they doing that? So that makes them think something's about to go down, which gets them planning ahead. And it gets the plan up in the air that they like, you know, they think the British are going to move on them because of all the rebel rousing they've been causing, as they should think that. So they get the plan in place to have one if by land, two if by sea going.
I've heard that before.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it would be like in the old church to be able to be seen from everywhere. So that happens, and it goes down as they thought it would, and they said that they were going to be marching on Lexington and Concord. So they go to meet them there. But before that happens, Paul Revere's ride.
He does a little thing.
Yep.
He writes a poem.
Yep. And he's like, the Redcoats are marching on us. He really only says the British are coming once in that movie. I think, and it's just as like a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
That he's like, get out your muskets, get to the streets, wake up. And he's on. I think he's on the horse that Johnny trained.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to be able to run. He ran, and it's 17 miles, and the young group of patriots get up to Lexington and Concord, and that battle takes place.
That ride was 17 miles. I don't know why in my head it was like he rode through all of New England.
Have you ever been to that area?
No.
It feels
I mean,
you're it's like 39 miles. It's so
Yeah.
far away.
And
it
also,
feels so
you're
far away.
on a horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
It's
highways.
No, I get. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like, you know,
You can't jump on like 93 and just pop over.
when they're teaching this to you as a child, miles don't really have context.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and that so the American Revolution begins kind of, but that's not really what's considered the American Revolution.
Yeah.
Start of it at least. And they don't talk about the Boston Massacre at all. So
that is a Disney movie.
And it's tough when you're, the British character is the comic relief and then you have him shooting an unarmed crowd.
yeah, he doesn't do that
It's
at
not
all.
really written for that.
Well, they couldn't talk about anyone dying in a Disney movie because it wasn't anyone's parent.
Yes.
If it was a parent, they would have showed it in great detail.
So then they do the little chase around Lexington and Concord. They give great examples of the like guerrilla warfare that was used that they adopted from King Philip's War, hiding in bushes while the British just march along very like obviously, and they just like open fire on them all the time
Yeah.
until they beat them. It ends pretty much, but not really. There's a little bit more to it because they kind of just show like, oh, there's this guy who shows up who's one of the older people of like the making of the country, but I forget his name. What is it? Otis?
Franklin?
No. He's kind of great. He's kind of crazy. They're like, he got kicked in the head by a horse 10 years ago, and he's never been the same.
James Otis?
Yes, thank you.
I don't know these things.
I said
I can
Otis,
just find
yeah.
the IMDb page.
Okay.
Right? Did I say Otis, though?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
okay, thank you. And so he was a rough guy, but he was like, his whole thing was democracy, and like, it pretty much ends with him on like that note of, don't we want somewhere that everyone can be equal and be free of tyranny and not just a blah, blah, blah. But like Johnny says something to him that like sparks that speech.
Yeah.
But before that, after the fight, his girlfriend Cecilia, who's now his girlfriend, I guess,
Yeah.
is like sees him laying in a hay bale and thinks he's dead. And he takes like a very awkward amount of time to wake up because he's just napping. He's like, I'm not dead. Like, those red coats couldn't kill me. But like, there's other people around him dead. So like, it kind of made sense that she thought that. Either way, it does end with the wish of like, this is our plan. We're going to defeat the redcoats. We're going to instill democracy. We're going to defeat tyranny. And it's all thanks to Johnny Tremain. Not really. He doesn't say anything about Johnny Tremain. But he's the instigator for like things happening that we are able to see.
Yeah.
And that's his little role there.
And they all lived happily ever after, and there
Yes.
was never any more issues in the United States ever again.
Yes. It's one of my favorites.
Clearly.
Yes. One of my favorite movies.
It's so
Oh.
funny. Like, I hadn't thought about that movie, and
I
I can't remember the last time.
don't know if I knew there was a movie.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I just, for some, like, 50s Disney stuff was never my childhood growing up. Like, it never,
Like I said, it was
I just never
mine
watching, I just
because
never watched it as a
VHS was
kid.
new.
Yeah.
So they were just throwing anything they had
Yeah.
onto VHS, you know.
They I don't think I would have watched it if it wasn't for an 8th grade history teacher who had us watch it. That's literally it. And I was like, this movie is awesome. Loved
do a
it.
podcast about this.
Yeah, one day. Yeah,
In like 20 years, guys, I'm going to remember half of this movie.
true. First half.
I wonder
is-
how many of those Disney movies that I remember were like made for.
a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd assume, like, from that time, probably most of them.
Yeah.
I was poking around on the IMDb page. Apparently, there was a 3-parter where Leslie Nielsen plays like a Revolutionary War hero,
That's
and
interesting.
I feel like I need to track that down.
Yeah.
I knew he did a lot of dramatic acting. Before
I know,
he
but,
became
like,
the Leslie
before he
Nielsen
became-
we know and love.
Well, I mean, it was not why they cast him in Police Squad is because he was,
Good actor.
yeah, but he also wasn't a comedic actor.
Yeah.
Until like he started doing comedies as an old man.
R.I.P. I was like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. But love that movie. Killer soundtrack because it's literally just one song. But it's such a good song.
I just go see like Hannah driving down the street, like blasting that in her car,
Because we are the sons.
Windows down.
windows down,
Yeah.
glasses on, like jamming out to it.
Love it.
Pulls up at a stoplight, looks over at the car next to her, and just like nods. She's
Yeah.
popping along.
Yeah, it's killer. If you haven't seen it, you can rent it on Amazon for $2.99. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Nope.
For a Disney movie.
Nope.
Wait, it's
Think
not on Disney Plus?
No, it's not.
What the heck?
I know.
Weird.
It pulled
Disney,
up.
get your act together.
It pulled up so many other movies. Yeah, I know. I was upset. But you can also it's not available on YouTube. I think you can rent it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But you can't sometimes you can get lucky and get like a free.
Yeah.
And it
Or
wasn't.
find it like in parts.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. No, but you can watch the Sons of Liberty song on there. That's in full. And it's a good movie. You guys should check it out. Fun little history movie. I love
That's accurate and not accurate.
it. 2 thumbs up.
Two
Yeah.
thumbs up.
Yeah, accurate and not accurate.
And only one of those thumbs because it's stuck in.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think this is the part where we stop talking. And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. So thanks again for listening.